greatest economy the world has ever seen, just as we had just a short time ago. We will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America healthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Great again. Great again.
Hey guys, good morning and welcome to the American Tribune Live. We are getting spicy. I am streaming on YouTube, folks, and I am going to be actively watching this. I am counting down the seconds basically until YouTube just nukes the program altogether, because we are talking about how immigrants need to be banned and expelled from Congress. Now, I wasn't planning on doing this episode, but we had a viral video drop last night of a Dem congressman saying, I'm filing articles of impeachment against Donald Trump because threat to democracy and obstructing justice. And where have we heard this all before? I seem to recall back in 2016, from the time Trump left office, they said we have to impeach him because obstructing justice and threat to democracy and all that stuff. Folks, do you know what the threat to democracy is? It's these foreign-born nationals bringing their disturbed socialist values and worldview to the United States and intentionally destroying the country. Now, I got thoughts on democracy as well. We might as well get this out of the way. I don't like democracy anymore. When Donald Trump is a threat to democracy, I'm all ears. Like, what can we do differently at this point? We have discovered that mass democracy, the mass ability to vote, voting is a right. Everybody needs to vote if you're older than 18 and you can breathe. In some cases, if you vote Democrat, not even breathe. This isn't working anymore. I am decidedly against everybody being able to vote. I'm in the camp of a benevolent dictator at this point. Someone like that is benevolent and leading with the will of the people in mind, doing what is best for the people in their country, because for the most part, people don't know what's good for them. They don't know what they want. You have half this country voting for Democrat. That's my proof. That's all the proof I need to say that voting in mass democracy is a failed experiment, because half of this country votes against their own best interest, their self-interest, certainly the interest of me and the rest of the country that I have to share it with them. So I'm over it, folks. I just got to get it out of the way. When he's a threat to democracy, I wish that were the case. I wish he would say someone would come along, and I got to say this too, someone will come along if this Democrat narrative, if these Democrat policies, and when I get into this in a second, when we talk about who are the Republicans that are immigrants and foreign-born nationals serving Congress, you're going to find out that they don't do a great job either, because at the end of the day, it's basically all the same. People have different values. People are fake Republicans. It does not matter here. But they're not doing anything in the name of America. They bring their own values, worldview, principles to Congress, and they destroy what we are trying to hang on to here. So they all got to go. They all got to go, folks. And I do have stats for you, because you're going to say, well, Bernie Moreno, he's in the Senate. He's an America First guy. He was born in Colombia. I'm not talking about exceptions to the rule. And honestly, Bernie Moreno's been in the Senate for 3 months. So we have a lot to figure out, learn about him. But even if he turns out to be the best sitting U.S. senator that the Republican Party has, that's not even evidence enough that, oh no, because we have one guy in the Senate, that somehow we need to upend the entire disaster that is allowing immigrants to serve in Congress. It's spicy today, folks. I'm fired up here. You're going to get fired up when you hear this video. A lot of comments that I'm going to make. And again, YouTube, we have a viewer on. YouTube, the count is not 0. So YouTube is allowing us to run with the headline of immigrants need to be banned and expelled from Congress. And we got Kagan Girl in the chat. Good morning, K Girl. It's good to be back. I was out last Thursday. Jason and I didn't do the podcast last Friday. We were down in Chattanooga, Tennessee for our business partner Will's wedding. We will have pictures on Friday. I don't know about our audience here. I think I've only been to one nicer wedding, and that was by accident. But this was the nicest wedding I've ever been to. We were all in our tuxedos. This just in, apparently the vest is out and cummerbunds are in. So I felt a little out of place with my three-piece tux, because I was rocking a vest. But we will have some fantastic pictures. It was a beautiful event. Very happy for our business partner, Will. But I am very happy to be back in the studio. Well, Kagan Girl, since you asked, how was the wedding? Incredible here. It's like out of a movie, basically. The sums of money, and I don't have a count. I don't think you asked that question. What did you spend on your wedding? I think it was more than my mortgage. I'm going to put it that way. Everyone was dressed to the nines. Every detail was planned out. They had a raw oyster bar as part of the meal here. I think the oysters alone cost more than my own wedding. But Kagan Girl, thank you for asking. Yeah, we had a great time here. We flew out Thursday and Friday. My flight got delayed Sunday night, so my wife and I overnighted in Detroit, and I was like, I'm a little hungry here. I might walk down to the gas station. She said, the hell you are. You are at the airport hotel in Detroit at night. You're not going anywhere. We got Robert in the chat over on YouTube. Robert, it's good to see you again. It's not letting me send a super chat. I wonder if YouTube already nuked the channel here. But thanks, Robert. One more for joining the show. Appreciate you tuning in. We got a lot to talk about today. And Kagan Girl, it was a beautiful wedding, beautiful couple, beautiful bride, beautiful ceremony, the whole 9 yards here. It was a fantastic wedding. If you've ever been in Chattanooga, Tennessee, it was on Lookout Mountain. So the venue for the reception was the top of Lookout Mountain at a private club. You're looking down over the entire valley here. Everything about it was fantastic. We had a great time. Jason and I will go into more detail on Friday when you tune in, Kale Girl. But thanks for tuning in today to the show. Robert, thanks for tuning in today. I got to give a special shout out to, I think, Mom and Pop today. My parents are tuning in down from Florida, checking out the American Tribune Live today. I'm sure it will be a lively family discussion after we get over with this one. Because like I said, we need to talk about how immigrants need to be banned from Congress, banned from serving in the future, and current immigrants in Congress need to be expelled. Folks, I get it. This will never happen right now. Donald Trump's not going to show up tomorrow and say, you're deported, you're expelled. But remember, they got rid of George Santos because George Santos lied about a few things. So we're willing to expel members of Congress for fibbing on their resume. But every other politician, and it's predominantly Democrats and rhinos here, this entire list, again, I got two ways we can branch this out. Number one, it's politically motivated because all of these foreign-born nationals, all of the immigrants in Congress, they're predominantly Democrat. That's a problem in and of itself. It is a huge political problem that Democrats want to import the entire world into our country. It's a problem that all of these people vote Democrat because they think I have a government to take care of me. These people just want to be taken care of. They don't have no distillation, no disposition to take care of themselves. And I understand that we're painting with a broad brush here. Lots of immigrants come to the country, work hard, their children live a better life than they would have otherwise. Parents make sacrifices for their kids. I understand that here. I am speaking in broad political terms here, where it seems all of these immigrants run as Democrats and vote to destroy this country. I don't even think it's an accident at this point. The globalists hate the American experiment. They hate our freedom. They hate our power. They want to destroy the country. So no, it's not an accident. All these Democrat politicians are in there saying, we need to impeach Trump. Threat to democracy. MAGA is a threat to democracy. We need to let more people in. We can take care of everybody here. It's all by design in that point here. But just from a common sense approach as well, even if they were all Republicans, honestly, folks, I think I've reached a point where I'd have a problem with that too. America is allowed to stand for something. We are allowed to have our own identity. You go anywhere else in the world, when you think of England, not so much anymore, but when you think of the English Empire, you have a picture in your head of what that community looks like. France, China. I taught in Peru for a year. I lived in Peru. I had a great time in Peru. I went to Peru because it was Peruvian. I wanted to be part of that culture, that community, that lifestyle for a little bit here. I would never think about bringing my whole family down through chain migration, bringing all my buddies down there and changing the way Peru operates. Now, I know our CIA likes to do that, but I'm saying me personally, no, I like that. You're allowed to have an identity, a culture, a history, traditions, language. You're allowed to have that as a nation. Everywhere else in the world, as an American, as a Democrat voter, I'm telling you right now, when you have any idea in head of China, Japan, Peru, Russia, you know that that's a distinct people. America is the only country in the world you're not allowed to have that distinct idea. And it gets complicated because of the waves of various ethnic groups immigrating here. But that doesn't need to be the case. We are allowed to have tradition, history, culture, shared language, shared vision, shared principles. We're allowed to support the Constitution and want limited government principles in place. All these immigrants are bringing something else to the table. And it's time to say no. America gets an identity too. And this just in, folks, it was founded by white Europeans with Christian religious values. That is what America is. You take away the European ancestry, you take away the Bible, you don't have an America. That's what we are. Now, there's room for you here. You can be non-white and non-Christian and still thrive in America, contribute to America. But if you remove those two pieces, you just don't have an America. There weren't Americas popping up all over the world with different races, ethnicities, and religions. It happened here specifically because of that background and because of the traditions, the history, the culture, the values that those specific people had at that time. And so you're allowed to say that is America's identity, and everything else falls from that. It flows from that. And so I've reached that point where we just need to accept that and move on here. And Democrats hate it because they will simply say we're a racist country because they know it was founded by white Europeans. So they got to denigrate the whites. They got to say you found this country on racism, and they hate Christianity. You got to tolerate Muslims building their own private, secluded communities. Where I live in Minnesota, folks, look up Lino Lakes, look up Burnsville, look up Lakeville, look up St. Cloud, look at all the rural white communities. I have to tolerate all that. But as soon as I say I'm Christian and here's what I believe, they'll hate you for it and they'll call you a bigot. So the Democrats understand both of those factors when it comes to America's founding and America's identity. They hate that it's white. They hate that it's Christian. So they want to import all these non-white Christians to the country. This is not a racist statement. I am not saying just, boom, I hate everybody else that's here, but I am saying we are allowed to have an identity and recognize that identity here. Yeah, Robert's still letting me know it's not letting me send the super chat here. I know YouTube's a little weird about that, Robert. Thanks for trying here. And Robert got it through. Update on that one. Thank you, Robert, for your contribution. I don't know why it doesn't pop up there for me to see that, but I appreciate your contribution, Robert. I appreciate you tuning in again here. We got to dive into this, though. This show was prompted by, and I'm going to get his name wrong in this case. Let me see if I can pull it up really fast. I don't think it's going to let me pull it up really fast here. I'm trying to get the name. His name is Shree. So you have a Democrat congressman from Michigan last night who talked about the need to impeach Trump because Trump's a threat to all that stuff. And the thing that's really going to stand out is he's not from here. In fact, he was born in India. He speaks with a very thick accent despite living here for over 4 decades. That in and itself is a problem. English is America's language. Proficient English. There are a lot of people that are born in America that don't speak proper English or proficient English. You can't understand them when you talk to them. That's a problem in and of itself. But let me make this distinction too. For all the folks out there saying Native-born Americans commit more crime than illegals, or you have more white liberal women here that live with their cats and dye their hair blue and they eat fast food every day and they're frumpy and then they want socialized health care so you can pay for their mistakes and their own personal failings. That's not the point. The point when it comes to the immigrants in Congress, the deportation of all the illegals in the country, is that the number should be 0. We will then figure out how to deal with all the moronic Democrat voters in this country here, all the frumpy middle-aged women that vote Democrat because they want to feel good about themselves, all the crime that takes place in America. We'll deal with that next. But when it comes to illegals in this country, when it comes to immigrants serving in Congress, the correct answer should be 0, and that should be low-hanging fruit to resolve. And then, yes, let's fix the rest of the problems in our society. No country is perfect. No society is perfect. We have a long ways to go when it comes to that. But I don't want to deal with the other stuff. Drunk driver that's an illegal immigrant that kills somebody, illegal violent felon that got released from Venezuelan prisons, those shouldn't happen at all. Why are we even debating that? If there's an American drunk driver, deal with that separately. But the correct answer when it comes to illegals is 0. When it comes to dealing with corrupt politicians in Washington, D.C., we got enough problems going on without having to worry about all these immigrants that come over here and whether they're getting puppeted by some globalist shadow master or they are just that deluded themselves to hate this country. They came to the greatest country in the world. And folks, this is the other thing that rubs me the wrong way. If you're an immigrant in America, your only response should be, thank you, Americans, for taking me in. Thank you for building and maintaining the best society and government in the entire world. Thank you for giving me a chance. I will repay that tenfold. I will work hard. I will not commit crimes. I will not vote against the very interest and principles that set this thing up for me in the first place here. So you got this Shree character. I got video clips of Ilhan Omar. I've got clips of AOC. AOC, Puerto Rican heritage, by the way. Separate conversation. I'm open, folks. I'm open to the fact that if you're a child of an immigrant, maybe you don't get to serve either. Maybe we need to have some sort of litmus test to say, like, have you figured out that America is the best place to live and you don't get to serve until that's the case? I don't need you getting in there and voting against the interests of me and the American people and destroying the very thing that gave you these opportunities. I hate ingratitude so much. And whenever I see these Democrat politicians get into Congress and they say, I'm going to tear down this great country, the lack of gratitude is appalling. No. The only reason you're in Congress is because it's a great country. And you get all these deluded white libs out there saying, he speaks in an accent. He has different skin color than me. That makes him special. That's the only reason they vote for these clowns, is because white people have been so just pushed down over the years and brainwashed to hate everything about themselves. He's special because he looks different and sounds different. That's not a reason to vote for somebody, folks. All right, I got Robert in the chat. I do want to comment on this as well. Robert says, I'm not Christian, I'm Jewish, but America is a Christian country with Christian values, and I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. If anything, I don't think our country has enough Christian values. Robert, thank you for saying that. That is my exact point here. And it always comes across differently because I'm saying, hey, it's a white country, it's a Christian country. I check both of those boxes. So immediately every Democrat's like, you're biased, blah, blah, blah. That's not the case. You can objectively look at this and say, America is great because of what created it. Yes, it has Christian values. And Robert, to your point, it needs more Christian values. Donald Trump, I haven't heard a lot from J.D. Vance lately, but they've always been talking about we need to bring God back. We need to make this a Christian country. Because, folks, you don't have this great American experiment without the thing that made it great. If you remove Christianity from America, you don't have America anymore. And again, to Robert's point here, you can be non-Christian. You can be non-white. You can still recognize the fact that those things made America great. That's it. And you can be welcomed. You can be included. You can participate. You can do all these things the same way that I can. The only discrimination on the books, folks, is if you are a white Christian male. They'll tell you the opposite. They'll say, oh, if you're black, if you're white, you have all these things to work against. No. They've never made it easier for you. I'm the one that has to work harder. When I was interviewing to be an assistant principal, a principal in Minnesota's government school system, you think I was a shoo-in? I had to be twice as good at interviews. I had to say, I lied in the interviews. I said, yeah, I really care about all these poor, marginally, historically oppressed communities. And I do. I want all kids to succeed. But no, I don't believe your woke DEI crap. But I had to speak really well on all the issues. I had to present myself very well. I had to win over the folks because they all wanted to hire the unintelligible black lady because skin color and sex. That's it. That's what I was competing against. So I had to be twice as good as them just to get hired. This just in, I did get hired because I was that good. But that's what people are up against right now. Kagan Girl says, that's right. That is right. Yeah, again, folks, nothing I'm saying is wrong. I hate to put it that way. We are correct. Robert's correct. Kagan Girl's correct. We are correct on this. We can't lose sight of what this country is. All right. That being said, I hate ingratitude. I got a great Rand Paul clip on that when he talks about Ilhan Omar. Let's get into the clips, though. I promised some lively clips here. I've been ranting for 17 minutes already. Folks, I am coming back from the wedding. I've missed my studio. I've missed my podcast. I got so many thoughts on this. Let's listen to Shri. I can't even pronounce his last name. He doesn't deserve me to pronounce his last name correctly. Here you have an Indian-born Democrat congressman saying that he knows what's best for America. You, I won't even say white. You, the traditional American, heritage American, Christian American, Jewish American in Robert's case, any of you that voted for Donald Trump, you don't know what's best for this country. You think America first is wrong? Shame on you. I know better because I was born in India. I'm a Democrat. The lecture he gives us is appalling here. Listen to his accent. Like I said, he's been here for 46 years, I think it was. That's the count that I saw at least. 46 years. You can't even learn proper English. And then you want to lecture me on what is best for America. You got here yesterday, but you know what's better than me when it comes to what this country means, stands for, can be again? Get out of here with that. But take a listen. I'm not going to play the whole clip. But here is Shri. He is the new guy because they have dirt on him or he hates this country or both, telling you why we need to impeach Donald Trump.
This is Congressman Shri Thanedar. Donald Trump has already done real damage to our democracy, but defying a unanimous 9-0 Supreme Court ruling, that has to be the final straw. It's time we impeach Donald J. Trump. The court said the wrongfully deported Kilmer Garcia must be allowed to return and receive due process. Trump ignored it. He ignored the Constitution. He ignored the very checks and balances that keep our democracy intact. This isn't an isolated incident. It's part of a dangerous, deliberate pattern. That's why today I introduced a resolution to impeach Donald J. Trump, outlining 7 articles of impeachment.
All right, I'm not going to play all 7 articles of impeachment. That's where we're at. It's clown world. They only have one play. They lie, they hoax, they impeach. Remember when Donald Trump was president the first time around and they introduced like 1 or 2 articles of impeachment? All they did was change the playbook to say, let's do 7. Let us just do everything we can to impeach Donald Trump. Don't tell you why exactly. His explanation was he's trying to deport a violent, illegal, wife-beating gang member who had already 2 different deportation orders. He was allowed to stay only because of his gang affiliation, didn't mix with the other gangs in El Salvador, his home nation. Bukele comes in, fixes up El Salvador, cleans up the streets. All the gang members are in jail. So now his home country is safe to return. So the judge said, you can return now. You were only here because it was not safe. It is safe now. You're an illegal. You need to go home. But this is their hero, folks. The Democrats' hero is, in this case, a wife-beating, gang-associated illegal alien. And I'm supposed to feel bad for him, and I'm supposed to not like Donald Trump because Donald Trump is doing the right thing and ignoring the court. I got comments on ignoring the court too. Folks, I want Donald Trump to ignore the courts when they don't go his way. Donald Trump, I understand the precedent here. I'll explain why I'm okay with that in a second. Donald Trump has 4 years, just 4 years to clean up this mess. If we listen to the courts and we say, you know what, it's okay that we keep all these violent illegals here. It's okay that we abort our babies. It's okay that we forgive student loans. The courts are only ruling in one direction, and that is just a roll down the hill towards communism. Donald Trump knows what's best. I voted for Donald Trump to do exactly this, so I'm fine with it. Donald Trump needs to deport these people. He needs to ignore the court. What's the court going to do anyways? What army do they have? But you can guarantee when Donald Trump is out of office and God forbid a Democrat becomes president again or they take over the House and the Senate, do you think they're going to abide by court rulings? Remember when Joe Biden ignored the Supreme Court on student loans? Was this dude outraged? Did Shree stand up there and say, this is a dangerous move? Joe Biden is ignoring the Supreme Court's ruling that you can't just forgive student loans because people are morons and they believe the lie that you need to go to college, and they took out massive student loans and they got a gender studies degree. And of course, there's no job market for gender studies, so now they're poor and they feel entitled to living the lifestyle of their boomer parents. Joe Biden didn't say that. Oh, well, the court decided against that. I can't do that. He just found a different way. Where was this clown? Where was any Democrat when Joe Biden consistently ignored the Supreme Court? Moreover, where was this clown when Joe Biden ignored the Constitution and let all those millions, tens of millions of illegals in the country in the first place? So it's all political. That's all it is, folks. It is only a political thing. I want to get to the chat again here because Kagan Girl is saying these people never follow the Constitution. They have the audacity to say that. Folks, they hate the Constitution. That's what's astounding about this. Great comment, Kagan Girl. They hate the Constitution. They hate this country. That's why they're trying to import millions of people. That's why they're trying to throw you in prison. That's why they do whatever they want. They hate limited government principles. They hate the Constitution. They want to take away the Second Amendment. They want you to believe that the 14th Amendment allows illegals to come here and drop a baby and suddenly everybody gets to stay in America. Everything about the Constitution they hate. They have never read the 10th Amendment, which says all rights not enumerated here belong to the states. They will consolidate federal power all day long. This show is not long enough to go through all the ways they hate the Constitution. Just understand that they do. If you're watching the show, you know they do already. But suddenly Donald Trump tries to make this country great on constitutional principles. And I don't think he's gone far enough, by the way. He is not a perfect constitutionalist, not a perfect limited government guy for my liking. That being said, that will happen in the future. It's only going to get worse. They think Donald Trump's the bad guy. Keep doing this, Dems. This is not me making a threat. This is just me observing reality. Donald Trump will look like, let's pick an example here, JFK. He will seem so mild and tame if we continue down this path because Americans are just going to get, all right, I'm voting for the dictator because I need someone to put the military in the urban city to clean up the streets. I'm going to vote for someone that will be a dictator and put every military member on the border so that zero people cross anymore. We're coming to that. We are coming to that. They think Donald Trump's scary. Keep trying this, Dems. Like, there will be someone far worse because that is always the reaction towards communism. We vote for the other extreme, and I would vote for it. At this point, I would vote for it because that'd be better than communism. But yes, they hate the Constitution. This guy has never even read the Constitution. I guarantee Shree has no idea what it says. He has no idea of why the Constitution was written, the historical precedent for that. He doesn't care, though. He does not care. These people want power, plain and simple. And as soon as they get that power, do you think they're going to abide by the Constitution? I'm going to say no because they haven't until this point, and they're not going to change. But you got this clown out here, again, with his thick accent, native born. What is he doing? What are voters doing, by the way? And I've already explained it. If you're a white Democrat voter, you vote for this guy because he's not white and doesn't speak good English. That's it. You're like, he's an immigrant. He is special. He has a special background, different perspective. Perspectives are good. Folks, I want one perspective. I want the constitutional perspective. And again, you can be an immigrant. You can be foreign born. You can have that same perspective. I'm not changing my mind. I don't want immigrants in Congress here. Let's get to some stats for a second. Like I said, this is a common sense approach. You need to be an American to represent the American people. That's the premise of my claim here. You need to be American to vote, or to support America. I did say vote. I believe this as well, folks. This is where it gets really spicy. I promised a spicy show today. I'm going to watch the YouTube count as I say this out loud here. I don't think immigrants should be voting either. I know that's going to be a really contentious statement. It's a spicy statement. You need to have a little skin in the game here. You need to have a little history in this country. You need to have been here to vote. So, yes, ban and expel them from Congress. But also, if you're going to vote, I've often said I want voting to be a lot harder. I want to age or raise the age limit. I want you to be a net contributor to society. You need to own property. If we have any sort of tax system, you need to be a net contributor to that tax system. You don't get to make $20,000 a year, live on welfare, and then vote for more welfare. You don't have a say in society when you contribute nothing to society. But age the raise limit, or I did it again, raise the age limit, be a net contributor, own property, not be an immigrant is getting added to the list as well. I will go so far as to say, and Kagan girl, I'm sorry to say this here, I am open-minded to the 19th conversation. Now, if you own property as a woman, if you are a net contributor as a woman, I am open-minded to that. But right now we have a lot of people voting. They have their rights, but they have no responsibilities. Right now, women can vote to send men to war. And I understand we have women in the army. I have a problem with that too. No sane nation allows mothers to go fight in battles. Women shouldn't be allowed, not just on the front lines, but in the military in general. Why are these women away from kids? Why are they putting themselves in danger? Men do the fighting. But with that being said, men should decide when other men go to fight. And again, just to be fair here, if you are in Congress and you're voting to send somebody to war, you need to enlist your own children. Anyone that votes yes for war needs to have skin in the game as well. So if you're a dad in Congress, a grandfather in Congress, and you're voting for war, guess what? One of your family members just got sent to the front lines too. As Donald Trump said when they hoaxed him about trying to assassinate Liz Cheney is over in Washington, D.C., and she is a proxy for basically all of them. I don't even know. Let me know in the comments below, folks, if we have anyone that serves in Congress that has kids in the military on the front lines. But if Liz Cheney is going to vote for war, then she needs to go to the battlefield first, have some bullets fly by her ears, and understand what war really entails. You don't get to sit in some cushy office in Washington, D.C. You don't get to just see names on paper or numbers on paper. Those are real human beings. Those are real family members. They are sons, daughters, mothers, fathers, and they're getting killed for your military-industrial complex lobbyists. You need to have a little more skin in the game as well. I got a new chat here from Crow. Israel requires women to serve in their military. Like I said, I don't like it. I'm not a big guy on war. There are justified wars. I understand all of that here. But women fighting in battle, no societies have ever done that until recently. Women's lib, turns out it didn't work out really well for women. All they got were corporate jobs. They got service in the military. They got access to murder their babies and live with that consequence for the rest of their life. Women's lib was a complete failure here. And yeah, even if Israel allows it, I don't like it. I don't like it. Let Israel do what Israel wants to do. I am an America First isolationist. I don't care what the rest of the country does. I appreciate you watching, Crow. I know that you and I are often on the same page here, and I'm not being contentious, but whatever Israel wants to do, that is fine. And they have a different conflict to deal with right now. But as far as the United States goes, get them out. Get the women out of the military. Let them be moms. There was that story when Donald Trump's Secret Service agent was gone because she had to breastfeed her kid. And it's just like, this whole thing is ridiculous. Why is a woman on Donald Trump's Secret Service detail? I remember the picture. It was kind of like the Melissa McCarthy movie when she was a cop. You have some frumpy Secret Service agent, like, can't even holster her gun properly as July 13th is happening. So that's a problem. But then you have another gal. She's gone, not where she's supposed to be because she had to breastfeed at the last second. Why are you as a breastfeeding mother putting yourself in harm's way? And is a woman breastfeeding her kid really going to dive in front of the president to take a bullet? I mean, A, no, but B, should she even be in that position? We are getting into all sorts of tangents today. But there you go. There you got the Democrat Indian who says he knows what's best for America, even though he got here yesterday. He hasn't even bothered to learn the language. So no, don't tell me that you understand constitutional principles, Shri. I have this clip here. I have some comments on this too. This guy's really fired up. He's going to go down a certain path. I'm going to add a little more color to this video as well. But here is one online response to the video clip you just saw.
We voted for Trump. We voted for America First. We voted for sovereignty, not sellouts. And now these goofy-looking foreign influence puppets with toupees, fake smiles, sit in Congress, try to undo the will of the people. They don't represent us. They never did. And it's time to remove every foreign influence seat warmer who stands against the American mandate we fought for. This is our country, not theirs.
I love it. Yeah, this is my country. This is not your country. You are a guest in my country. maybe your kids or grandkids or great grandkids, they can call this home. You better call this home. Again, Shri, ungrateful to the extreme, comes to this country, gets to wear a tie. Yeah, that is clear. I don't know his haircut, folks. The memes have been great here. They've like superimposed Kamala Harris's face. They've given like the whole rainbow gay makeup. That hairstyle is just off the charts crazy. But the will of the people comment, that's the one I wanted to touch on here. I'm a big fan of saying Donald Trump has the backing of the will of the people. So did Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, not Joe Biden because that election was stolen. But sometimes the will of the people is wrong. And I made the point earlier, I'm not a fan of democracy anymore, especially this mass democracy. If we went back to like just landowners voting, I can live with that as well. But the way voting is set up right now, I don't trust most people. What's the George Carlin quote when he says, pick out some moron anywhere and just understand that half the country is dumber than him? I don't trust people to make decisions for their own lives, let alone make decisions that impact me. So when it comes to the will of the people, I'm kind of on the fence. Yes, 51% of America voted for Donald Trump. That's 51% of the people that even voted. So no, will of the people scares me because I don't like democracy. He has a point. Like, yes, the majority voted for Donald Trump, but really a slim majority. It could have gone in either direction, a couple states, a couple different votes. So I am not a big fan of the will of the people argument. But on the point about being here, wearing a suit, wearing a toupee, having your fake smile, this dude, going back to the gratitude point, this dude would be a shady cab driver relieving himself on the streets in some crowded, disgusting Indian city if he weren't in this country. That's it. This dude should be thanking me every day. Thank you, Todd, for being part of America. People like you allowed me to come here, use a toilet, wear clean clothes, take a shower, live in and we're losing trust in society here, but certainly a more high trust society than India. Everything about this guy's life got better because he came to this country. And what does he do? He turns around and says, I'm going to impeach Donald Trump, and I'm just going to recycle phrases like obstructing justice and threat to democracy. I hate it so much. I hate the ingratitude. I hate the clown world. I hate everything about this guy. And it's all of them. It's all of them. Let's get to some stats, folks. Like I said, it's a political problem because all of these foreign-born nationals serve as Democrats. Even if that weren't the case, though, I'm on the fence if I'd even be supportive of it, because even if you've got all these America First Republicans serving in Congress, let's say the majority of foreign-born nationals were Republicans and they had America First principles, newsflash, and I'm going to go down the names of the Republicans that are foreign-born. It kind of proves my point right now. Even then, though, that signifies that we are changing what this country is. At a certain point, you just tip over. If we were founded on white European Christian values and ideals and heritage, you bring enough people in, that goes away. And I don't want it to go away. And I'm allowed to say that because if I lived in Peru as a Peruvian, China and China, or Chinese and China, or throw a dart at a map, any other country in the world, those people want to hang on to their country too. All I've heard about is how Europeans colonized and raped this land here and they stole some culture. Why is it bad if Europeans did that to the Indians and then all of a sudden when the rest of the world does that to us, it's to be celebrated? We need to pick a lane, Democrats. Is colonization good or is it bad? But then you just got to understand it's always bad if you're a white Christian European descent. It's always bad. If you do it, it's bad. And if someone does it to you, stop complaining. It's good. Whatever can destroy what made this country great, that is the end game here. But let me run down a list here. There are, according to Grok at least, I think it's a little bit more. The numbers are always changing. There are 2 foreign-born nationals in the U.S. Senate right now. Mazie Hirono, who is the dumbest woman in the Senate. And that's saying something, by the way, but Mazie Hirono, born in Japan. I mentioned Bernie Moreno either. He's the other senator that is foreign-born. He was born in Colombia. Folks, the exception is not good enough. I want a general rule here. Bernie Moreno might be great. It's too soon to tell. He was just inaugurated in January. But he's the only one. Otherwise, you go down to the House of Representatives, 17 current serving Congress people were born in another country. The only ones that aren't Democrats, I should say, you have Juan Ciscomani from Arizona. You've got Carlos Jimenez from Florida. You got Victoria Sparks in Indiana. And you got Young Kim. I lied. There are 4. 4 Republicans, but let me read to you their scorecard here from the Freedom Index. Juan Ciscomani, he's a Republican. He has a lifetime score of 44% on the Freedom Index. In other words, he votes with Democrats more than he votes with Republicans. And just to get an idea where this guy is at, he didn't want to ban, Matt Gaetz introduced a bill last year, this was in 2023, to prohibit the use of federal funds to provide security assistance to Ukraine. He voted for that. So this foreign-born Republican wanted to fund the war in Ukraine. Let's see, what else did this guy do? Here's another big one. This is part of the problem. Republican Scott Perry introduced an amendment to limit migration and refugee assistance. I bet you can figure out how this guy voted. He said, keep the gravy train rolling for all of these immigrants here. So 44%, Juan Ciscomani might as well be a Democrat. I talked about Carlos Jimenez. Carlos is out of Florida here. He has a lifetime Freedom Index score of 52%. So you can flip a coin if he's going to do the right thing for the Constitution and for this country. He wanted to continue appropriations. Let's see, I think he voted against defunding USAID when all that information came out. He wanted to keep the largest scam running on the American people here, USAID, sending your tax dollars overseas, using your tax dollars to turn out the Democrat vote, funding all these NGOs that magically enrich everyone involved in them, and they're the spouses of your politicians, the lobbyists, their friends. He wanted the USAID scam to continue. He wanted to continue supporting Ukraine, so there's Carlos Jimenez. Victoria Spartz, she has a lifetime score of 80% on the Freedom Index. We've run a lot of clips of Victoria Spartz on the American Tribune channels here on our social media. She is great at just launching into these tirades here. But as I was scrolling through her Freedom Index fund here, you will notice that when it came to the Ukraine package, she was all for sending $40 billion to Ukraine when the war first broke out. Imagine that. Victoria Spartz, born in Ukraine, wanted to fund Ukraine. Hey, how about that? We have a Republican immigrant. That's going to defeat Todd's entire message. Turns out when they have to have their dual loyalties questioned, this gal sided with Ukraine, the most corrupt war we have seen in certainly I can't even say corrupt. They've all been corrupt in my lifetime here. No one even knows what's happening over there still, and I got to be careful what I say because I think YouTube didn't nuke us yet. But Victoria Spartz, fiery, gives impassioned speeches, lifetime Freedom Index score of 80%. But when it came to her home nation of Ukraine, she wanted to send your tax dollars there and get people needlessly killed. All right, and then I got Young Kim. This is the worst one, folks. Young Kim is from South Korea. She's from California, and I'm not even open to the argument of like, well, you're just trying to get into Congress. It's better than a Democrat. Is it? Is it better than Young Kim? In the last congressional cycle, she had a Freedom Index score of 33%. 33%. In her lifetime, she is at just 50%. But the same thing here. She had a vote, an opportunity to defund the UN. You can guess how she voted there. She had an opportunity to vote on defunding USAID. You can guess how she voted there. She had a chance to vote against the migrant parole program, a parole process that is a legally created program and incentivizes mass migration in the country. She wanted it to continue. So you tell me, folks, you tell me how having Republican foreign-born nationals are any better than Democrat foreign-born nationals. If it's a Democrat foreign-born national, and you're going to recognize some of these names. Let me just read off a few. Pramila Jayapal. We just did the video of Shri Thanadar, Ilhan Omar. Who else do we have here? And you've got kids of immigrants. I asked Grok to, okay, those are the foreign-born nationals in Congress. And again, there are 19 of them. 19 people in Congress weren't even born in the United States. Add to that 65 members of Congress are children of immigrants. And the majority, the vast majority, are also Democrats. Let me read some names here. Yasemin Ansari, Abraham Amada, Maxwell Alejandro Frost. This guy's an insane Democrat he's from Florida, parents of Cuban and Puerto Rican descent. This guy's out of control. Richie Torres in New York. Who else do we have here that might ring a bell? Grace Meng. So again, most of them, not just themselves born overseas, but the children of immigrants born overseas, always seem to coalesce around these Democrat values. And why wouldn't they? Because America's an exception, and the rest of the world grew up on socialism. They fled socialism. They fled their home nation for a specific reason, and they came here, and as soon as they did, they said, I want to turn America into the country I just fled. Folks, you can't make up this level of stupid much longer here. Oh, we just got down to 0 on YouTube. I think YouTube might have nuked us. But that is why they need to be banned and expelled from Congress. They do nothing good for this country on net. And again, on net is saying something. I'm being very generous with that. Bernie Moreno might be the one example of, okay, maybe we have some America first here in Congress. Ted Cruz, I'm on the fence about Ted Cruz, but he was born in Canada. Andrew Clyde's another congressman from Georgia. He was born in Canada. I have a little different feeling about that. But also Canada just elected Trudeau 2.0. Like, you can't make up that level of stupid. Get rid of Trudeau because we recognize how liberalism is a disease and it ruins every country. And then well, this guy said something mean about Trump, so I'm going to go vote for this and have the same government I did before that I hated. Canadians are a special kind of stupid. Let me go through the comments really fast here. So Crowfield's right. This was a comment back on when I talked about women serving. Women can serve in desk jobs, medical positions easily, but not on the battlefield. I'm okay with that. See, I'm okay with that, Crowfields. That being said, it seems like women in a predominantly male field, a high testosterone, I don't know. I saw a meme floating around there that women are in the U.S. military just to provide gratification to male soldiers. You get some of the R charges that get tossed around their military. I think on net, women in the military is definitely not a good thing. Imagine being the one woman on a nuclear submarine. Like, I guess you're having your way with all the dudes, but is that healthy for men? I don't think so. But I see where you're coming from. On paper, I'm okay with it. I think in practice, we've kind of seen how that experiment worked out. Crowfields does right. IQ level is declining in the USA. That is an understatement. IQ level is definitely declining in the USA. Kagan girl asking about immigrants. If this place is so bad, why don't they go back to where they came from? That's always my question. It's such an obvious question, too. Oh, you hate this country? You got elected to serve this country and you still hate it? Go fix India, Shri. Go try to fix your just disgusting, deplorable S-hole of a country over in India. But they would never do that. They know America's better. They also know they can enrich themselves a lot more here. But yes, great question. You hate this country? I didn't force you to come here, Shri. You chose to come here. You immigrated here. So you can get in line with the American experiment. You can wait your turn, by the way. You cannot vote. You cannot serve. You can just simply go work. I'm surprised that Donald Trump hasn't cut off all welfare to immigrants at this point as well. No, you don't get to come here financially motivated and incentivized either. If you're going to be here, sink or swim, folks. Sink or swim. If America is going to hand out aid and support, it can offer safety nets to Americans, not illegals. Where I live in Minnesota, Tim Walz was just talking about how he proudly served medical care to 17,000 illegals to the tune of $7,000 each. Comes out to like hundreds of millions of dollars. Where I live, I'm paying a premium as a small business owner just to get basic coverage, high deductible, outrageous sums of money whenever I even talk to a doctor. I'm doing the right thing. I'm working hard. I'm an American. But when it comes to illegals in Minnesota, Tim Walz says, listen, folks, you're brown, you don't speak English, here's free healthcare that you can abuse all day long. You can just run every test. It's not going to cost you a dime. And guess what? Todd over there is going to pay for it with his 10% state income tax, his 14% property tax. My property taxes have doubled in the last 8 years since I bought my current house. But all these illegals waltzing in, completely free of charge. How does that not piss every single person off? And if you're a Democrat and you said, well, I can afford some taxes, I make good money, these illegals don't have anything, we can afford to take care of them. I guarantee not a single Democrat that I know has ever offered to drive an illegal to the doctor, pay those bills out of their own pocket, invited them into their home. These Democrats are all frauds. You're going to vote to steal my money. You're going to vote to make my expenses higher because of the medical of waste and abuse. And you're never going to do anything personally. It's all a fraud. These people are all frauds. That's my point. Francis says she can give from her own wallet. Yeah, thanks, Francis, for watching. Thanks for commenting here. Great point. Crow writes, plus the Democrats are all communists to run their party. Republicans don't. Yeah, there is a distinction. I know sometimes I will say two things that seem contradictory. Sometimes you're like, they're all bad. The establishment is bad. There are gradations of evil, though. Democrats are controlled by the communists. You know exactly what you're getting from every single one. If I see a D behind your name, I know exactly what you are, what you stand for, and I hate you for it. Republicans sometimes do the right things. They're controlled by the same levers of power, money, shadow government, blackmail, whatever the case may be. But the communists don't run the party. And so at the end of the day, there is a little bit more leeway here. Kagan girls on Todd's team here, they all need to go. Get them out of here. Immigrants cannot accept welfare or commit crimes and then become citizens. I can't believe we have to say that out loud. Are we debating that? What do you mean they can't accept welfare or commit crimes? This just in, folks. Democrats want all of that. Again, Gilmar Abrego Garcia, the Maryland father, the loving father who just wanted to stay in America, his home country. That's their hero right now. Their champion. They're rallying around this. Trump defied a Supreme Court order to bring him home. Folks, he is home. He was born in El Salvador. He came to our country illegally. He can go back home to El Salvador. And whatever Bukele does with him after that, if he puts him in prison or lets him walk in the streets, that's up to their country. But that's their hero, a wife-beating, violent gang member, illegal alien They will choose those people every single time. Yeah, and Fran, I didn't even have time to cover this, but since you brought it up, in Washington State, blacks are given free housing down payments. I think the number is $120,000, courtesy of you, the white paying taxpayer. Blacks in Washington State will get a massive down payment so they can go buy a home with the inflated housing prices. You, as a working class white Washington resident, tough luck, because hundreds of years ago, some other white person owned slaves. Make that make sense. But Washington voters, again, the deluded white Democrats out there, yeah, that makes sense. We need reparations in this country. Speaking of reparations, there was a thread going around on X yesterday, I think it was, and again, this is not news to anybody that watches the program, but how for decades whites have been discriminated against in the workforce, in college applications. I think this guy ran the numbers here. He said whites are owed $100 trillion in reparations because of the government discrimination plans known as affirmative action. But because the government allowed you to be discriminated against, think of all the opportunities you and your parents and their parents were denied. So it turns out whites are owed the reparations if we're going to go down that path. And Crow adds, this is also true, folks, lawyers don't have to pass the bar there. Where I went to school, this was 20 years ago now, they actually got rid of they got rid of all the academic entrance exams. So when I was a kid, I was taking the SAT, ACT, because those numbers matter. Depending on your score, your aptitude, that's a good indicator of, are you going to be ready for the rigor of this certain college, and community college, all the way to the fake Ivy League prestigious schools here. It's all gender studies now, so it doesn't really matter here. But those numbers were a good test back when they used to do academics in college. But my college said, no, that's fine. We have to eliminate academic testing standards because we got to get the blacks in. They didn't say it out loud, but that was the code. If we drop academic requirements, that will allow us to diversify. They basically said the blacks have lower scores, which they do. Talk about that all we want as well. But they wanted to diversify, so they made it easier. I don't know how, as a black person, you're not outraged all this, out of the affirmative action, the DEI, because when I flew a plane over to my buddy's wedding this past weekend, I always look in the cockpit now, and I saw white dudes every single time, and yeah, you breathe a sigh of relief. Does that mean every white pilot is the best out there and super qualified? Not necessarily, but if I see a female pilot or a black pilot, I have doubts, and why wouldn't I? Because I get told repeatedly, these people need more opportunities. They've been discriminated against somehow. So we're going to open up the door to them, not because they're the best pilot, but because they check the right box. This is happening, and I don't know how everyone's not mad. If I were a black pilot and I was in the military and I did all the training and I worked my way up to captain of a major airline, and now I've got Todd over here walking on the plane questioning my ability to fly it, how are you not super pissed off? It's so dehumanizing, so degrading, and it's not my fault I question if he should be there or not. It's Democrats' fault, because the Democrats, the party of racism, have repeatedly told blacks and women's and immigrants that you're not good enough, you need help, I'm just going to create this program to help you out. They think that little of you that you can't achieve it on your own. Folks, we are 50 minutes in. I have been rambling a lot here. We got to get to more clips here. Here is Ilhan Omar. Again, I got to get back to the headline of the title here, or the headline of the program. Immigrants need to be banned and expelled from Congress. This is the rule. Ilhan Omar clip right here. This is the rule. If you have dual loyalties, dual allegiances, and you're a Democrat and you already hate this country, you're never going to side with America for the life of me. If you're just a regular voter out there, are you really going to? And the answer is yes, because they do. You're really going to vote for someone that hates you and hates this country? They don't ask you when they're ruining your life, hey, did you vote Democrat? Well, never mind, I'll just pass over your door. No, they ruin your life too. So I don't know when Democrats are going to wake up to the fact that even though you're a good person and vote Democrat, you can feel good about yourself. Your life is getting ruined just as much as mine. They don't care how you voted. They're just using your vote. They're lying to you about Donald Trump and MAGA. Here's Ilhan Omar, though, saying, I basically represent Somalia.
annaga haddii aan nahay dad Soomaali ah waxaan nahay dad isjecel waa laga yaabaa meelaha qaarkood inaan isku xagxagano laakiin haddii runtii ay imaato waxaan nahay dad isku tashto dad walaalo ah dad dhiig lah dad isku og inay Soomaali yihiin inay Muslim yihiin oo iyagana isku hiiliya dadka walaalahoodna u hiiliya marka daraad markii ayaan dhaxdaas markii aan maqalnay in qaar Soomaali ah ama Soomaali sheegato in Ethiopia ay la galeen ma baqaan af Soomaali wixii lagu dhaho agreement
All right, I'm going to end it there. She keeps talking. You get the gist. I'm Somali. I'm going to speak Somali here. Sitting U.S. Congresswoman speaking in another language to, I don't even want to say constituents. How many people in that room are even allowed to vote legally? Now, they all vote. We've had video clips. Project Veritas did a thing where they harvest ballot in the Somali districts here. Legally able to vote? Separate question here. Sitting U.S. Congresswoman not speaking English, that itself is a problem. But then if you read the text underneath the video, you could say, we are brothers and sisters. We all look out for each other as Muslims, as Somalis. I am going to always put Somalia's interests ahead of yours in America here. And of course, the room of Somalis is like, that sounds great. What can you do for me, Ilhan Omar? How much can we pilfer and steal and loot from the white American tax-paying base just to get more for ourselves? And how can you send more money overseas? How can I get more of my fifth generation cousins? Like, they will bring everybody over. Minnesota communities have been utterly destroyed because of the Somali immigration set forth upon us by Barack Obama, helped out through these NGOs, and you got your Lutheran social services, Catholic social services, all these woke churches that also hate you and hate this country. Pretty astounding stuff. But I do just have to say, again, this is not the point of the clip. She doesn't even have a word for it in Somali, so she has to transition like agreement. You don't even have words for an agreement? Come on, folks. But here's Rand Paul. This is the clip I referenced earlier as well. This relates directly to Sri Thanadar that we did the video clip on, the inspiration for the show. This relates to what Ilhan Omar was saying. You have two foreign-born nationals that deserve to be in their home shithole countries. You know what? If you're so great at this, Ilhan Omar, go fix your own country. Sri, if you are so impassioned about saving democracy, go back to India. Go poop in the street. Ilhan Omar, by the way, is not going back to her home country because her dad helped murder hundreds of thousands of fellow Somalis. Yeah, this is the love and tolerance party right here. Her dad was part of the murderous regime in the 1980s, and when that regime got toppled, they had to flee because they would have been killed by the people that overthrew the regime. So she's only here in the first place. She lied about I'm getting persecuted in my home country, so I need to get asylum, and it was granted. But just understand that political persecution stemmed from the fact that her dad had a hand in killing countless Somalis. So she comes here, we save her life, we give her a job, a home, she gets to serve in Congress. And what do they do in return? They have zero gratitude for the best country on the planet that saved her from literal death, saved Cherie from driving a cab and trying to rip off tourists. But here's Rand Paul talking about lack of gratitude.
I'm in a town where we have a lot of people who are refugees who have come, some from Somalia, some from Bosnia. I've never heard one of them say that America's a terrible place or be unappreciative of our country. Most of them are thankful. I've met people who have come here from behind the Iron Curtain that got away from communism. They're some of the best Americans we have because they really appreciate how great our country is. And then I hear Representative Omar say, oh, America's a terrible place. I thought there'd be justice and there's no justice here. And it's like, well, she came here and we fed her, we clothed her, she got welfare, she got school, she got health care, and then lo and behold, she has the honor of actually winning a seat in Congress, and she says we're a terrible country. I think that's about as ungrateful as you can get. And so while I'm not saying we forcibly send her anywhere, I'm willing to contribute to buy her a ticket to go visit Somalia. And I think she could look and maybe learn a little bit about the disaster that is Somalia, that has no capitalism, has no God-given rights guaranteed in a constitution, and has about 7 different tribes that have been fighting each other for the last 40 years. And then maybe after she...
Absolutely. Here, I have comments on Rand, especially that last part about the tribes fighting each other. Crow made a comment here. I wanted to pop up the Crow one. Crowfields wrote, no one with dual citizenship should be allowed in Congress. Yes. What we have not talked about on this show is someone like a Brian Mast, a Republican from Florida that has dual citizenship with Israel. That is a whole separate conversation. But any campaign, how do we allow foreign countries to donate to campaigns? AIPAC might be the largest, certainly the most well-known. All of these politicians, Republicans and Democrats alike, fill their coffers with Israel's money. That's a problem in and of itself, even if you are only an American citizen. But someone like Brian Mast that is an Israeli citizen, and you've got, I think it's just confirmed that they have an outsized influence in Washington, D.C. I mean, you got the Trump administration here, and I don't like the path they're going down with that, focusing on anti-Semitism on college campuses. And I'm thinking there are a lot of problems on college campuses. Maybe anti-Semitism is one of them. I don't like that that is the focus here. You're never allowed to criticize certain groups of people. But yeah, great point, Crow. I'm glad you brought that up here. Anyone with dual citizenship, American citizen, immigrant, if you came from somewhere else, you're already off the list. But yes, anyone with dual citizenship, oh, we just kicked the string on our camera here. You should be an American citizen and an American citizen only so that you make decisions in America's best interest. I can't believe we have to say some of this stuff out loud. Yeah, primary here, Francis says. Kagan Girl says she should be out of Congress. Ilan is a very spooky woman, Crow writes. Yeah, it's astounding all around, the things Ilhan Omar is allowed to get away with here. But again, Minnesota naive up here. It's not Minnesota nice. It's just Minnesota naive. All these deluded white liberals there feel good about themselves because I voted for the Somali. I'm a better person than you because you voted for the white candidate. That's really what it distills down to up here. All right, we got to wrap up with AOC. We're running up on the hour here. Again, I always say I'm going to do a half an hour show, and it goes long because, man, the chat is lively. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for watching. I love to see your comments here. Then it turns out I have a lot to say too because I was gone for the last 4 days, so it's all been boiling up inside of me. I had to get it out on the podcast. But AOC has been making the rounds. She has defended illegals. She has counseled illegals. She gave a town hall specifically to illegal immigrants to tell them how to evade, avoid ICE and detention, and speaking with law enforcement that might want to deport them. So she was aiding and abetting. Stephen Miller calls them terrorists at this point. So the Trump admin just basically calls these people terrorists, foreign-born terrorists. They're illegals. They're not Americans. But AOC is going to call them her constituents because, of course, she does, since they basically vote for her. I got to figure out which clip I want to play first. But then she also goes on the tangent of saying, you know what the solution to illegal... I'm going to start with this one. This one's insane. She says the solution to illegal immigration is naturalization. So we won't have any more illegals in this country if we just don't make them illegal. You can't make up this level of stupid. This is the front runner for the Democrat nominee in 2028. Folks, 2028 is going to be wild here. I thought 2024... I still stand by this. Like, if you voted for Kamala Harris, you couldn't see the writing on the wall. I pity you. But if you have a choice between, let's say, J.D. Vance and AOC, and you're on the fence about that, and you say, I like AOC's vision for America, I think we're out of options. I don't think there's ever waking you up anymore. Anyone that votes for AOC in 2028, I'm just going to have to write them off. Like, no amount of information, facts, evidence, logic will ever persuade them back to our camp. They could be assaulted by one of AOC's illegal immigrants in the park, stabbed to death on one of the New York subways as happened this last week. You could be an EMT paramedic and you could be murdered in the ambulance trying to save another woman's life. No amount of this will ever persuade someone to stop voting for Democrat. That's where I'm at with these people. But let's do the AOC clip first, where her logic is if they're not illegal, then we just solved illegal immigration. This is how they think.
From all parts of the political spectrum, one of the biggest issues that we have when it comes to immigration is the fact that we have an undocumented population. Mm-hmm. Now, you can fix that by trying to build a wall, or you can fix that by trying to document people and create a path to citizenship. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I wish I had thought of that, folks. Yeah, it was that easy all along. The solution to illegal immigration is just to call them all legal and give them citizenship. Now, it's super convenient that when they become naturalized, they will vote for Democrats pretty much every single time. That was always the end game. I don't know if I have any Democrat family members or friends that have made it through the hour here, but I need to set the record straight. No, they are not bringing in everyone else from around the world because they're compassionate or because they have empathy. In fact, they have a lack of empathy because when an American gets raped, assaulted, murdered, they don't care. There is zero empathy for the victims. Hundreds of thousands of drug overdoses, hundreds of thousands of young girls and women trafficked every single year under Joe Biden. They didn't care about that. It's not because of empathy. They'll tell you, they will weaponize your white Christian guilt and say it's because we're taking care of other people. Jesus would have taken care of them. And so you got all the white Dems out there saying, yeah, Jesus would have done that. So I'm going to do that too. I'm going to ruin my country, pay more taxes, just so I can feed and shelter 50 million people that don't need to be here. They are doing it for political purposes. That's it. They are bringing in all these people to count them on the census because when the census counts come in, you get more apportionment for seats in Congress, electoral votes in the presidential election, and when you eventually regain power, you're going to naturalize them. Kamala Harris would have given citizenship to every illegal in this country. AOC will give citizenship to every single illegal in this country if she wins the presidential election in 2028, or any Democrat for that matter. They're all the same. They're all interchangeable. They might talk different, sound different, look different. They are interchangeable robots at this point, evil communist robots. but they will naturalize them, and then we will never have an election again because all of these tens of millions of dudes will vote Democrat. You can say goodbye to swing states. You can say goodbye to the election. That's what this plan is. They want to bring them in for voters. They are playing the long game, importing Democrat voters, and in the meantime, they get more apportionment in Congress because they get counted in the census. That's it. It has nothing to do with compassion or empathy or no human is illegal. You'll see the stupid yard signs like your neighbor down the street. They're dumb. They actually believe that no human is illegal and we'll just take care of them, and that's where it stops. But the long-term plan is, of course, to get them to vote Democrat, and then your vote will never matter. So Crow, myself, Kagan Girl, Francis, I think my parents are watching the program today. Our votes don't count anymore. It won't matter. Yeah, Crow writes, AOC represents 20,000 people, and she was, I think it might be 200,000 people, or maybe it is just 20,000 legitimate voters in her district, and she was raised up as the messiah for Democrats, got a degree in economics, and can't even explain how it works. That's the other thing here. AOC will tout her economics bachelor's degree, and then she's a communist, which is par for the course for colleges nowadays. But if you can't even explain supply and demand, let's look at housing. Let's go back to Washington State, for example. Washington State looks around and says, gosh, housing's out of control. Now, someone with an econ background is going to say, well, we printed a lot of money. We imported a lot of people, and all those people need a place to live. So the demand for housing increased. Supply didn't keep up with the demand, so the prices will naturally rise. But their solution is let's just give out more free money. And of course, missing the cycle there, if we hand out more free money, do you think if you're selling your house in Washington State and you have a black buyer and you know they have a $220,000 of free government money, you're going to charge a little bit more? You bet your ass you're going to charge more for that house. So they're not going to make the situation better. Again, that is also par for the course for Democrats. They don't want anything to get better. It's kind of like the health system right now. If you treat and cure patients, you lost a customer. So they never want you to get better. Democrats never want to solve a problem because if they can't manufacture fear based on lies and hoaxes, if they can't manufacture problems to run a fake solution on, what good are they to you? So they'll always create a problem, and their solution will always make the problem worse, thus repeating and guaranteeing the cycle that you will always need them. Until these Dem voters break out of the matrix and realize, seems like Dems created the problem, and the solution to that problem made the problem worse to begin with. Good luck explaining that, folks. Some of my aunts and uncles that are the most liveliest when it comes to this, they watch MSBL say they were not at Easter, so I was a little disappointed. But yeah, good luck trying to explain that here. Yeah, and Francis writes, I'm always up there for the entertainment. I will tune into every debate. Let's see a debate between AOC and Vance. There was a previous comment from Crow that said the IQ of the American people is down. I don't know how much debates move the needle. And I say that begrudgingly and with a little disappointment because I like the debates. The debates shouldn't be everything. But when you had Vance destroy Tim Walz up there, did it move the needle? When you had Kamala Harris lying on stage saying that police officers died on January 6th or that Donald Trump called white supremacists and neo-Nazis fine people, just a blatant lie. Joe Biden launched his presidential campaign in 2019 based on the fine people lie. Did anyone notice? Does anybody care? So I'm very sad about that, Francis. Yeah, I would love to see that debate. Pure entertainment. Half this country, though, vote blue no matter who. AOC could be up there saying complete nonsense, and at this point, it sounds good to those folks. So that's where we're at. I got one more AOC clip. Let's listen to her defend her comments, though. Again, she was giving aid and quarter to illegal immigrants at a town hall, just like Ilhan Omar was in front of all of her Somali-speaking constituents that no one bothers to learn English anymore. She's speaking Somali as a congresswoman. AOC hosted an event to help educate her constituents, as she put it, which was really just telling illegals how to avoid deportation.
Dispute, if that's the right word, with Tom Homan, the president's Homeland Security czar, so-called. You held an online forum, a Know Your Rights forum, that he didn't like. What were you doing? What was your goal as you saw it?
My job is to educate and act as a liaison of critical information to my constituents. And I was informing all of my constituents of their constitutional protections, and in particular, their constitutional protections against illegal search and seizure in the United States.
Yes, I was giving information to all of my constituents, and it just happened to benefit a small portion of the community that is here illegally. And folks, I actually haven't, Crow's always on it, Kagan Girl's always on it, Francis is on it here. As far as you being illegal, I don't know if I want you entitled to those same rights. I can't search and seize if you're an illegal, and I know you're here illegally. You kind of lost out on that opportunity the moment you cross this border illegally. I can detain you, I can verify your illegal status, and you don't get due process. And this Kilmar Abrego Garcia character, he had like a decade of due process. He had multiple judges say it's time to go. So that's not enough still. It's never enough for them. He could have another court date, another hearing, another stay, another this and that. The plan would be just to never get rid of him. But no, you're an illegal immigrant. If I verify that you're an illegal, I'm going to send you home. Folks, where I'm disappointed with Donald Trump is I'm not seeing enough deportations. I want them all gone. I want Donald Trump to speak out about this Sri Thanadar asshole. I want him to speak about Ilhan Omar and say, maybe it's time our country had a discussion about immigrants serving in Congress. And the left would freak out. I think a lot of on the fence Republican people, the MAGA is just a small portion. You still have all these Republicans that are like, I'm a Republican because I support, banning abortion. And then everything else, they're just like, well, that doesn't sound nice. That sounds too harsh. I want to live in make-believe land where politicians were always honest and said things smoothly like Gavin Newsom and flushed the country down the toilet while they were doing it. But at least it sounded nice and I wasn't offended personally. But I'm ready for it, folks. This podcast is really just like, I'm ready for all of this. I want everyone deported. I want all these immigrants banned from Congress. I want to have a discussion on what it means to be an American and who gets to enjoy the rights of being an American. Let's have that conversation. And I've been saying, I think in 5 years, this podcast will look back and say it's tame. Like the fact that we have to talk about immigrants need to be banned, expelled from Congress, I don't think most of the country is ready for that conversation yet. Give it 5 or 10 years, and this will be a rallying cry of the right. And again, like I said at the show, it's not a threat, it's just a reality. They're thinking Donald Trump's a bad guy. I mean, they're always going to say someone's a bad guy and a fascist and a dictator. We're actually going down that direction. The Democrats are not pumping the brakes. Democrats are not slowing down. They have one goal in mind, and that's the destruction of this country, the loss of your freedoms. They would put us all in camps, by the way. They would be happy to knock on my door over here and say, well, Todd, you were speaking up on Rumble about immigrants, so you're going to go off to jail just like they would do in the UK. Thank goodness I'm not doing this podcast in the British Isles because they would come arrest me right now because you're not allowed to say anything about immigrants. Not allowed to point out the fact that immigrants have kind of changed the landscape of the country, brought more crime. Don't mention anything about the Pakistani gangs that go after young British girls. You will go to prison. They won't, but you will for just saying it. Democrats want that same operation here in the United States. And since they are continuing down that path, they want to groom all of your kids. Where I live in Minnesota, they're trying to restrict who gets to homeschool. They are trying to pass legislation that says you have to be vaxxed and juiced up for every program of school, private, public, homeschool, mandatory for any attendance in daycare. They want you to have zero rights, zero say as a parent when it comes to kids. They want to make sure that every woman has to get naked in front of a man and he can expose himself. And if you notice that something's wrong with that, you're a bigot. They want to import all these illegals and give them free health care, education. They want to give them every right that you have. And by the way, the only difference is you're going to pay for all of it as the white tax-paying American. That's where we're headed. And so as they keep this up, the pushback will only intensify. And if they think Donald Trump's a dictator, just wait another 5, 10, 15 years. I would gladly vote for a dictator if it would put a stop to this madness. I don't know if Donald Trump's got it in him right now. His administration's got it in him. It's only been a couple months. Give it 4 years. But the clock is ticking for the midterm elections. Again, half this country is like, well, Donald Trump is mean and the media said this, so I'm going to vote for the Democrat that will ruin my life just to stick it to Orange Man bad, just like Canadian voters did the other night. We don't want the conservative Pierre Poilievre because he said something mean about Donald Trump. And so we're going to vote for this Communist Party up in Canada. I mean, that's what American voters are going to do too. And so they keep playing this game like there will be a stronger reaction. And I'm ready for it. I'm ready for that strong reaction, folks. But with that being said here, I think we got to tidy things up. It's been an hour and 9 minutes already. I appreciate you guys tuning in. We had Crow, Francis, Kagan Girl. We had Robert over on YouTube for a little bit. Robert, thank you for the super chat. Not a lot. I'm not saying you didn't give a lot here. The super chats, though, it doesn't fund the channel. I do this for fun here. I appreciate all your viewership, all of your financial support, all your contributions here. On Fridays, we do a little promo for Goldco, so I'll read that on Friday as well here. I just enjoy the community. I appreciate you guys tune in, chat a little bit. Love that we got Robert over on YouTube. We got to switch him over to Rumble at some point. Love the Rumble audience here. I got someone on Locals. If you're watching on Locals, can you drop a comment in the chat so I can see who you are and give you thanks as well? I'm still trying to build out the locals community. Maybe someday we'll transition everything to locals as well. But folks, thank you for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for your support. Thanks for your super chat there, Robert. I will be back on Thursday. I don't even have a set time anymore. I'm like 9:30ish, 9:20 I started today. Depends how the workflow goes the rest of the morning, if we can fire things up a little bit early here. But then on Friday, Jason and I are back live in studio for Freedom from the Press. That will be streamed on all Facebook pages. And I love the Facebook comments because I don't get trolls on YouTube and Rumble. People knows what's up. But when we're on Facebook, we always get the troll. And that is also one of my favorite parts of the day. But folks, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. We will be back next Thursday, 9:30ish at the American Tribune Live. I am Todd Peterson. We'll catch you then.
Starting on day one, we'll implement a rapid series of bold reforms to restore our nation to full prosperity. We're going to go full prosperity and to build the greatest economy the world has ever seen, just as we had just a short time ago. We will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America healthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America